this is, keep talking about the fact that we've had a per capita recession for consecutive quarters and nobody seems to be too concerned about that. We are in a recession in the way that it matters most. Yes, you can bring in hundreds of thousands of people here every year and pump up the GDP figures and make it look like we've got all this economic activity and we've got growth. But what matters is how it's impacting people's lives, and those per capita figures revealed that. We've had a sharp fall in our living standards, and it's not just households. As these figures show, Australian businesses have suffered the sharpest fall in gross operating margins in 25 years. And you mentioned gas prices. That's got a lot to do with it. We are sitting on abundant gas reserves. Victoria in particular, I wrote about this during the week, potentially sitting on hundreds of years of gas reserves. But the Victorian constitution has been changed thanks to the feckless Libs down there who joined with Labor to do that a few years back. So fracking is banned. And no future state government is going to be able to reverse that crazy policy without changing the constitution, which will be almost impossible to do because Labor's never going to vote with the Libs to do that. And so this is all self-inflicted. This isn't due to COVID. It's not due to international issues. This is policies that have been made in this country that have disadvantaged our households.
And it all comes back to net zero. It all comes back to net zero. Rita mentioned the constitution there in Victoria changing, but the constitution in Germany, under the new conservative government, they didn't get the AfD, they got this conservative woke mob who have changed the German constitution to put in net zero and climate change and all that in there. We'll be speaking to Ralph Schollhammer later in the show about that. You don't want to miss that. But James,
let's go back
what is going on in Australia?
No, there's a bigger problem, though. I mean, yes, you mentioned the living standards have gone back by almost 10% since the Albanese government took power. We know that our economy has got all sorts of problems, even though the numbers are kind of spun by the government to say, hey, we're doing really, really well. But, you mentioned, Rita, a moment ago, the feckless Libs in Victoria. Well, I'm starting to get a little concerned here about the Libs federally as we head into an election campaign, which I presume is going to be called next weekend after the budget, or the following weekend. But what I am concerned about here is that in the absence of economic policies from the coalition to ease the cost of living, and every single pollster I speak to, they all say the same thing. Cost of living and things related to cost of living and energy are all the top 1, 2, 3 plus issues for voters. The Liberals aren't answering that. Sure, they've got nuclear, but that doesn't come online for 10 or 20 years. They don't have anything about net zero, getting energy out of the ground, any of the sort of things that will bring costs down in the here and now.